our session. So once again, I say a very big welcome to every one of us and welcome to our session. So in our last session, we had a discussion around the three segmentation of business and how we transfer that into building out our financial statements. And we also take our time to look at what we call drivers in modeling. And we took our income statement as an example and we laid out different drivers. From there, we got started with our inputs assumptions. So we said this is more like a cement production business, right? That we have a client and they've giving us the information needed for us to build out our model. We got the information and we got started with first considering is a plant business. So which means it's not the day they start the business that everything would be ready. Now, typically, the way accountants approach it is we assume every cost you spend is being spent on the day one when the business starts. But in real business wise, especially when it comes to you building a model, you can start a business today, employ people today, and it will take you almost like 3 months for you to even set up your whole equipment, getting everything set. And as such, there are some expenses being borne during that period. So for typical operational model, which is we infusing project finance, it is assumed that the business has started from day zero, right? So this one we assume, okay, they've paid for the equipment, then bringing down the equipment, doing the setup, the whole thing. That's why we introduced this setup and construction period and then operational period. We then went ahead to create our timing and flag so that we know that, hey, this is the period for timing and this is the period for construction and the period for operation. And we got started with our macroeconomic data where we discuss our cost incremental factor. We're able to complete that, and then let's now go straight to our pricing incremental factor. So I like to work smart and just I don't like repeating formatting. So I'll copy this my second header, cost incremental factor. I'll just leave a row and paste it on that row, and I can change this to my price. Is it price or pricing incremental? Let's just call this price incremental factor. Now we'll try to be dynamic with this our model build. We've used one approach for the cost incremental where we said, okay, you know what? We give them room to be able to impute the yearly inflation rate. Okay, and we are assuming the inflation rate will be more like an average inflation rate, which will be applied across the month. Still, we made provision for them to be able to override the cost incremental factor, and then we compute our monthly inflation index. Now, for the cost incremental, that one, let's use the popular method. So first, we need our let's call it price inflation rate. Okay, sorry, just leave it. Always leave just a row, at least so that we maintain the same row, the same structure with your home. So price inflation rates. Now, as I said, let's try and be dynamic to our price inflation rates. Okay, and business wise, we also need to be very, very realistic. One is we need to understand this business, is it the major price dictator in the market? If the answer is yes, okay, we give them where management can decide to increase price the way they want. Secondly, if they are not, it means they have little control over price incremental. We are trying to be very realistic. As I said, we are infusing project finance into operational model. In project finance, what usually happens is there will be more like off-taker agreements. So off-taker is more like you already have customers, you already have buyers, and you've signed agreements with them that, hey, this is the amount I'll be selling my product to you by the time I start producing it. So for project finance, now as if you now want to start looking for customer. So you already signed that offtake agreement, and then the price incremental would have been agreeable. Okay, every 5 years, every 13 years. So there's like an interval increment in price. So you cannot just go tomorrow and say, hey, I'm increasing my price. So that's the typical project finance. And also for operational model, operational kind of business, as I said, if the business is not the major price dictator, then it's very difficult for you to build a model. And you're saying price will keep growing at anyhow kind of rate. Okay. So as I said, let's try and make this dynamic. So what I would do is this. Let's create more like an incremental period. Okay. So what I will do is this my inflation. Let me bring it down, and up here let me put period. Let me put period here, period, and then let's just state end month. So just a note for them to know that represents end month, and we can make room for, let's say, like 10. So 1 2 3 4 5 7 8 9 10. Okay, so because of our stuff, so 1 2 3 4 5 6. So let's assume we create. So put your input sales star here, and what we want here is to have, they can put in a date for them to increase their price, their product price. So let's say this period, I think our business is starting 31st December, right? So I just put a round. So let's say 31st 12 2025. Okay, so then format it to show in date. Format it to show in date. So please, if you have any question, just type in the chat box. Okay, there may be another 31st December 12 2026, like that. Then another 31st to 31st of 12 2027. 2027. Okay, then 31st 12 20, that should be 2028. Okay, 25 26 27 28. Let me work. So I'll just copy the date and change the year. Okay, so considering our model, at least the year ending 31st December. So what we are basically trying to say is there could be an option where they're saying, okay, you know what, maybe they might decide that it could be semi-annual, that they want to increase the price. It could be an interval of 2 years. So basically what we are just trying to do is we are creating like a date here, but the date must always be like end of the month, right? And if you want to use the start of the month, you can also use that. Do we use the start of the month or end of the month? Which one, guys? Do we use end of the month or start of the month? So remember, our conversation is still our conversation approach. Is end date fine or start date? Okay, interesting. Someone is saying end, someone is saying start. Let me hear, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you use end date? Do you use start date? Okay, end date. Okay, all right. I think we have to end it. You see, people that don't use to reply. We need your contribution as well. Remember. Okay. So just put this as ash. Now let's get our pricing incremental rate. Okay, so I will just work on, just copy the percent format that you have in this your inflation rate, so that you don't need to creating the, just copy it, then paste it under this our pricing for each of the dates, and you can delete the value. So we just copy that percent format. So what this is saying is it kind of gives room for them to be able to impute. Maybe at any period they feel like they want to change it, they want to increase the price, they just put the particular percent and it automatically flow into the model. Okay. So put your date. And in case you don't want to type like this, you can just come here and just highlight this old date, the end date, just copy and come to the chart and paste them as value and format it to date. Yes. So if you want to use end date, that's fine. If you also want to use start date, it's also fine. As I said, most times you are the one drawing. So the way you put your drawing is the way they will accept it. Now for the pricing inflation rates, now as I said, this can be very, very dynamic most times. Now, if you have access to as I said, if you are working in a company and where you kind of have access to all these macro data sources, as it kind of make it very easier for you to get those forecast data. So if you don't have access, then you might just need to go online and go to Google. But most time for pricing, we usually use what we call CPI, CPI index. So index rates for US, right? So you can see, so CPI index rate for US. Most times, if you want to uh, dive deep into it, you can also decide to go to, you can decide to check the specific product inflation pricing rate. So if you have if you have a country average inflation rate, current inflation rates, you can always go further with your analysis and try to see, hey, this product, this industry, what is there? So each industry also have more like a product specific kind of inflationary rate. So if you want to do that, you can also check that. Now, US CPI rate is saying 3.3%, which is the current period. So I'm not sure you can, unless you have access to all those research data information, that's where you can get the forecast of CPI rate for each country. But most times it's always difficult for you to get this just outside on any of a Google search of a thing. Okay, so this one is saying 3.3%, right, which is kind of higher than our inflation rate, right? So basically what that is saying is we are saying our pricing will be increasing further than inflation. Most times, it's always the other way around, because inflation kind of drives, so increase in inflation drive the increase in the cost of the business. Then business they also have no option than to also put it back to the consumer, right? Now, there are cases where you build your model, and what you do is you said inflation applies to both cost and price. So which means what we are saying is the business can transfer increments in cost to consumer, right? That the business can transfer increment in cost straight to consumer. That if consumer increase like this, then if cost increase, the same thing also drive pricing. But most times in real business case is not always like that. Yes, at times the business can decide to transfer the increment in inflation, but most time is not always the same impact. Now, always remember your own business income is also uh, another business expense, and another business expense is your own business income. So it's transferable. So most times, and that's one. So the second thing is when we are saying if the business products, if the business does not have control on pricing, maybe they have a lot of competitor, then it becomes difficult, because one thing is we're saying your model must be realistic enough. So if the business does not have control as to be able to say, hey, we can increase product price, then you need to be able to mirror the reality of it. Okay. So what we are getting now from our, as I said, and that's why most uh, big big companies don't usually rely on data on on Google search. So they usually have their own specified kind of data. So let's check this. Okay, all right. So okay, that this is very good. So you can see how they've also decided to classify this. So all item 3%, food 2.2%. Let me zoom out so that you can see food. So as a modeler, you are also a research analyst. Always remember that. So energy 1%, all item less food and energy 3.3%. Okay, so now the CPI kind of look higher than the inflation rate. Okay, now this is not usually common to most countries, but at times you can see cases where the CPI is higher than the inflation rate. But looking at the nature of our own business, that's why I said most times you need to be very realistic, considering we don't have access to those reliable data sources. Right? You know what we do? Let's 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 just adopt 2%. Let's adopt 2% across for our price inflation rate. Now, cases where this becomes difficult, then the other option is by the time you state the model pricing, you need to be able to insert management pricing incremental factor, which we are going to do by the time we get to the revenue assumptions. Let me say that again. In cases where it's very difficult for you to get those macro data, okay, or you are not certain, for example, I said, hey, inflation rate, and we saw the CPI seems to be higher than the inflation rate, which ought not to be, okay, because what we are saying is by the time we build our model, we are saying our pricing will be growing way higher than inflation. One. Secondly, the business does not have control over uh, driving pricing, the product pricing. So which is another. So let's say that as 2%. Okay. All right. So any question? We good? Okay, very good. All right. Now, the next thing is let's bring this inflation rate, let's bring it under each of the months. Just like what the same thing that we did here. So as I said, we are trying to use another approach so that as the case might be applied when you are building your home, and so that you won't say, hey, I've never seen this before. At least you know that you have more than one or two ways of doing things whenever you are building your model. So here you can see that we kept all this, we kept our monthly rates, our annual rates fixed into each of the months, we kept them constant, and then we insert our override factor, then do the inflationary index. Now for this one, for the pricing, we will be a little bit dynamic. Now we are going to use index and match, and I believe if you are on this course, you know how to use index and match. But let me see, can each lookup help us to do this? The lookup function, which is, let me see. Okay, I think lookup should be able to do that for us. So what you do is, firstly, this your inflation rate on that month one. Just copy that 2.1. Copy the format. We only need the format, not the formula. Come to your month one and paste it, then delete it. You only need that format so that you don't need to be doing the format again. Just try to work smart. Okay, so type equal to your lookup. Let's repeat the same thing we did. So lookup value. This time you should go and look for the month end. And the one we did in the course, we were looking out for year. But this period, because we are saying they can only increase the price at a specific start period. Okay, so we're looking for the what? The month end date. So my own is cell U4. Okay, comma, and look at it from where? So the lookup vector, the list of the dates that we created here. So those 31st December 2025, including the blank that you created. Now, lock it. Keep it constant. Let me zoom down a little bit. You can see, look up, you should look for the period end date, comma, right, in the what? In the list of the input end date that we created. So which means if you are using a start date, then you will need to use your start date. Then comma, then what should be the return vector? Then highlight all these 2%, including the blank that you created. Then also do what? Keep it constant and close your bracket and press enter. Press enter. What did you get? So please always remember, practice is also very, very important. That's the only way you can get better. So press enter. What did you get? Okay, very good. And I believe you know why we are getting NA, right? Please, can you do it again? So please, today we will not waste our time on anything Excel, right? It was stated in our in the form that this is not like a starter level, and we are not doing Excel training. We don't want to waste much time on Excel of a thing today, right? So if as a modeler you don't know how to use you don't know how to use lookup, then I'm not sure we want to waste time on that today, right? We don't let us use one person should not delay more than 30 other people, right? So that we can move faster. So yes, so NA, and the reason why, because the end dates cannot be found here. And here, I think if we come in front of our lookup and we put if NA, right? Then go to the back and put, maybe just give us 0, right? I know there are some school of thought that we always tell you to try and avoid if error as much as possible in your model. And I really understand the reason why they kind of go with that. Yes, if error can be funny at times if you are not very, very careful. So let's use if NA. So I said, so put your formula, you get NA like this, come in front of your lookup, right? And type if NA, open the bracket, go back to the close bracket, type comma 0, right? And press enter. And you can copy that across. Okay, so now let's see something. Let's see something. So you can see what I'm saying. You can see what I'm saying. So do you think HLOOKUP can do what we want? I don't think so. I don't think so. So what we want here is we just want end of December, right? We want 2%. Every other month should be what? 0%. Then we get to the next December, that the percent that we insert there should come in. Then every other month should be what? Should be 0%. So it's more like a growth approach. So which means HLOOKUP cannot do what we want for us. So which other formula do you think can help us? Using Excel is not the problem, but the cell to reference. Okay. All right. So let's redo this again. Let's redo this. So which means HLOOKUP cannot do what we want for us. Which formula do you think we can use? Which other formula do you think we can use that can give us, so that only the date match with the date, it gives us what we want, then every other amount should be 0. Which other formula do you think we can use? Guess some you guys are trying it. Okay, so I think index and match should be able to work. Index and match should be able to work. Index and match, right? So equal to index. So whenever you type index, the first thing index is asking you for is the array, right? And the array is what? Is what we want as a result. The range that contains what we want as a result. So what do we want as a result? Everything under this annual period. Press my F4 once so that I lock it. Okay. Comma. Then what? We need to be able to match. Guys, please try and Olalekan, please try and mute your mic, please. We can hear you clearly. Don't let us know about what you are doing. Okay, all right. So, guys, always set your team so that whenever you are joining a meeting, it's automatically switched to your mic being mute. Yeah. Okay. So, I think the first one, right? Index array is what? This is range that contain what we want as output, which is the range of those ourselves. I like the range. Now, as I said, if it's for a kind of model that you know that maybe they might even want to be changing the price on semi-annual basis, just make sure you include as much period date here that they can just put the date and state the percent there, right? Index, comma, then match. Match. What do we want to match? So we want to match the end date. I want to match my end date, this 31st year, right? Don't need to lock anything. Comma, match it in what? So you want to go and look for this guy, want to match this guy in what? In the series of the dates that we input here. So include that blank one, lock it, okay? The comma, we need to give us what? Exact match. Exact match, then you need to close the bracket 2 times. You need to close the brackets 2 times. So as a modeler, I'll keep saying it. I don't know the magic you want to do. You see that your 3 statements, knowledge and Excel knowledge, you cannot. And please, uh, don't jump the process. If you jump to, so imagine you jump to level, you ought to start something from level 1, level 2, level 3. You neglected level 1, you neglected level 2, level 3, level 4, and you want to start from level 6. It might later haunt you, right? Make sure you start from level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, levels. Please don't jump the process, right? Then press enter. It's going to give us the NA, okay? Then come in front of your index and we'll use our if NA, come to the end, right? Is equal to, then comma, put 0 and close your brackets and drag it across. Drag it across, and make sure you check each of the dates. So December 2025. In fact, you can format your so you can even format your percent. You can format your percent so that those zeros they show in blank. They kind of show in blank. So let me do my own self-formatting, right? So, and this is a very good example. I don't expect anyone to be a modeler and not being able to understand formatting in Excel, right? So this, I think this make it easy to read, right? So put those 0, format it as dash, and then it can easy for you to know that December 25. So someone is saying fake it till you make it, not in financial modeling. is very real. Yes. So then 27. See, if you get to the real world of financial modeling, and I usually tell people, see, you will be, number one, you will be frustrated. You think financial modeling is very interesting. But if you get to the real world of financial modeling, you will be frustrated. Right? So financial modeling is sweet. Yes, there's money in it, but financial modeling, let me just laugh about it. Because that's one thing I would usually tell you. It's real. It's business reality. It's business reality. So see, can be building the same model over and over and over. Can be frustrating. Can be interesting. Right? It's a global scale. So that's why we usually tell you, do not jump the process. Right? Some basic thing, as I said, modeling is a concept. Excel is the tool. Right? So which means, how do you transfer that concept into this tool? So which means this your tool, you must be top notch. If not, by the time you get to a case to where you need to build a model and you need to build for 3 different entities, consolidate it into one, then that's when you will see that yes, welcome to the real modeling world. And client is waiting, asking where's my model. Your manager is asking where's my report and the whole thing. Okay, so modeling can be so I'm telling you, you see, and that's where you see most guys, they try as much as possible to climb up the ladder, right? They know the modeling of a thing, but they will never want to build it from scratch. Yes, they make sure they quickly climb the ladder. They don't want to build from scratch, but they can give you comment, give you review. That's why clients will not want to build it themselves. We want you guys, the experts, to do it. Yes. especially when you get to project finance. Okay, so we are telling you the reality of it. I said, yes, there's money in it. It's one of the best skills you can have in the world, but can be tough at times. If you go to guys in the investment banking, in the infrastructure space, then you know what we are saying. So why are we starting from base here, and why are we highlighting the empty cell? Why are we starting from the base here? Yeah, so we just want to look for these dates, right? So, which means by the time we copy to the right, we move this formula to the next cell. It's kind of look for these next dates in this, and we also added that blank space, that blank date, so that in case they want to, as I said, most times if I'm building for something like 5 years like this, I make sure this annual input is almost like 10 option dates. So maybe they want to do it on semi-annual, and they can put the respective dates. So it's just we making sure we add additional blank option where they can still do their date inputs, and that automatically flow into the formula. Okay, so yes, it's very easy to review and critique model, trust me. But you see that building can be frustrating. Can you imagine where you are spending days on the model? Model is very sweet, right? And that's why we said, please learn the fundamental. If you know the fundamentals, right, at least your background is your background is very solid, and it's always easy for you to adjust, really deal with every other thing, especially with your tool. All right, so now let's create our override pricing increment. So let's work smart. I'll copy my row 27, the override cost that I have in my cost inflation. I'll copy it and paste it down here and change the name to override price increment. Override price increment. So because of the different dynamism that can arise from it, that's why I usually tell you, make sure you build it in a flexible manner. Create as many options as you want, especially for operational model. It can be very in fact, operational model is one of the model I really don't like to build. Yes, because you see, your manager will just sleep today, your manager or your client, and you just wake up tomorrow and tell you that, you know what, I was thinking about something, can we incorporate this into this? And you'll be like, but we already finalized this. We're like, but I asked you the same thing last last meeting. So it can be very, very interesting in the other way. I won't lie to you. Okay. Especially if you not have a great, if you have a great manager, you have a great client. Can be very, very interesting. Okay, so now let's do our inflation index. So what we'll do is, this is our inflation index in our pricing, in our cost incremental factor. Highlight it, copy it, right? Leave a row and paste it below our override incremental factor, then delete what we have there. We only need that format, just because of the format. That's why we are doing that. You build a model to one to one stage like this. You just close the Excel. Like you will close your Excel, close everything, and you just want to sleep. So as I said, make sure you try as much as possible to get the basic fundamental right. Even guys at the top, modeling. Right. Okay. Someone is saying, I have experienced this firsthand. My team lead will just wake up and give one complicating assumption and scenario. It's very, very interesting, but yes, it is what it is. Okay, so we've done that. So now let's use for this our pricing. We are going to use the order approach. The order approach, and I'm sure we have guys in the building that can also share their own experience of modeling. So for the base period, we represent that as 1. Just type 1. And I think for formatting sake, maybe we can just put that cell in something like hash color, right? So it's actually not an input, but is a constant value, right? So maybe You have to add that into our uh, cell format cell style. So just put one. You can just format the cell as hash cell. So basically what we are saying is that cell is one, and that one will never change. It will always be one. Come rain, come shine, and you should not change it. So that's what this is saying. So the one basically saying the price that will state in today, the price is the same thing, is the same value as it is today. So type one, go to your, I hope you've copied your override price incrementer, copy it from the cost incremental factor. And sorry guys, I know yes, we have some fast, well experienced guy in the building, but we just need to make sure we carry everyone along. It's part of the training. If you're a trainer, you see some people at level 10, some people at level 2, some people at level 6, and you just need to make sure you bring everyone along. Okay, so type your one is at coded value, type it as one, then go to your cell format, right, and just any of the hash column. I'm actually using the darker 15%. So basically what we are saying is, hey, this is an input, but it will never change. Okay, so any assumption for any class certificate to learn the fundamentals of modeling. Okay, maybe we can discuss that later. All right. In fact, most of what we are doing is still part of fundamentals of modeling, but you're expected to know have some prior knowledge. Okay, so once we do this, now let's put our formula. Let's put our formula. So equal to my base here, which is that one. And I said the reason what that one is saying is the any pricing we are stating today, it is today. It is a what today. So if I'm saying I will be buying something at $500, it means if I go to the market, it's the same thing. That is the same time value of that money. There's nothing applied. No real, no nominal. It is what it will get me today. Okay, so that's what that one is saying. So which means if I multiply that 500 by 1 to still give me the what? Give me the same thing. Every other thing being added to it. So that one equal to my base period. Okay, but before we do that, wait, we've missed one step. Now let me see if you guys are really following. Which step did we miss? We've missed one step. Which step did we miss, guys? But I'm sure we are doing this together. We've missed one step. Anyone? Know your model very well. That's number one rule of financial modeler. The model pricing rates. Right? So if you come to here, you come to our cost, you see we have inflation rates, we have the override, and after the override, we do what? We use the model inflation pricing. So I'll just insert a row here, like 2. Then I'll come to my model inflation rate. I'll copy it, model inflation rate, copy and paste it down. So if you paste it, I think automatically it's supposed to pick the formula. Yes. And you can also format it so that those ones in 0 kind of appear as dash. So which means we are giving room for what? For them to be able to override this. So model inflation. So just a row, then paste it. And that's one of the reasons in our fast standard, model structure is very, very important. It's very, very important. Right? And it's even because of the structure that I know most people usually try to have 2 input section. So they will tell you that this input is on monthly basis, and this other input is for annual basis. But most I usually prefer to just have them together like this. Yeah. The model structure is very important. It also helps you to work fast and also avoid some unnecessary mistake. So once you paste that, so you see this, you can change the description to model price model price inflation rates. model price inflation rate. So you can remove the row below it so that we also have this inflation index below. All right. So all you need to do now is equal to the one that I typed here, multiply by, open my bracket, 1 plus what? The model price inflation rate, close the bracket and press enter. Now take your time to look at the difference. Look at the formula we use for this pricing and look at what we use for inflation pricing. Look at the formula. Look at the formula we use for inflation index for the under the cost. Look at the one we use for pricing. Now, I know there's a school of thought that said if you are using one, make sure you stick to that one for both pricing and cost. So which means if you are using this second approach for pricing, make sure you do the same thing for your cost. If you are using the one that we use under your cost, make sure you use the same thing for your what? For your pricing. So we call that consistency approach. So I just decided to let's do the both approach so that in case you are building your own, now depends on you. I think I did one webinar on it and as to the reason why you can't use one or the other one. You just put your growth formula. Just put your growth formula. So one is real, the other one is nominal. Okay, so one is saying, hey, the pricing we are stating today has already factored in inflationary effects. So which means year one, the pricing will remain the same thing as what we've stated in our input. Where the other method is saying, hey, the price is today, but we've not considered the inflationary effects of what will happen in the year one. So those are kind of questions we also ask when we are dealing with clients. And you can also have a switch of scenario because by the time you get to valuation, investment evaluation, that's when you will see the importance, right? A simple saying, the pricing is that we've stated, the cost and price we've stated in year one has already factored in inflation. So don't consider inflation in year one. You observe the effect on your investment evaluation, the project viability. Yes, I've built a model such that by the time we create, so you create a switch and saying, hey, you know what, year one, don't apply inflation in year one, right? The project is viable, but immediately we apply inflation in year one, the project becomes not viable. So it's just it's just very, very vital and very important. So you can see. So look through. So you can see different approach. At times, yes, they can give us the same results. But look closely. So as I said, if you are using method one, right? Method one is saying the cost we are stating today that we're saying will be our forecast for the first year has already factored in what? Factored in inflation. That's method one. Method two is saying the cost is only at today. If not, you are not sure of what the inflation will say next year. Okay. All right. All right. So any question? Any question about that? Any question? I hope you understand that. I think I'm really taking my time. Yeah, I know we have some guys. Don't forgive us. Yes, we just need to make sure we carry everyone along. You know, most times it's not about how far, but how well. So now let me ask you, which one would you prefer? Assuming you are building your own model. Method one that we use for cost or method two that we use for price? Let me hear your thoughts so that I'm sure you understand. So I don't want that question that someone is saying, Victor, why are we using different method, different approach? As I said, one, the first method is saying year one, the pricing and the whole cost that the clients supplying us, they've already considered inflation in it. So it's not about a choice, it's about clarification. That all the costs, the assumption you are giving us, has it considered inflation? If the answer is yes, then We are not applying inflation in year one. Inflation will start in year two. But the other one, which we use under price, is saying is at the value today. So which means we need to consider that. Now, to be sure that everything is working, if they decide that in June 30, 30 June 2026, they want to increase by 5%. Go to June 30 under your override price incremental. Put 5% and see. Be sure that it is working. As I said, most times it's not about the two. It's a garbage in, garbage out. There's no magic to it. Put 5% on that 30th June 2026. Look at what you have, which means we are giving them room to do what? To be able to override the price inflation, maybe based on management decision or what the market is saying. You give that room, and any other period. That's why we have that override price incremental. All right, quite straightforward, right? Straight to the point. Okay, so now let's move a little bit faster. We have our price incremental. So under our macro, which other thing do we need to consider? So let's have our tax. Let's have our tax rate. Let's have our tax rate. Let's have our tax rate. Our tax rate. Let's have our tax rate. Tax rate. So this tax rate, we are going to have a discussion around it first. But let's say, let's call this our corporate tax rate. So I always make sure I also make provision for like additional. So I call it additional applicable rate, right? Then we can have our model tax rate. In fact, most times I usually leave one blank space, if just to make that provision for this payable. Then let's do that here. So percent, and then most times, so I will copy this I'll copy my percent. So copy my percent under this inflation. I'll copy everything. Then I'll paste it under my corporate tax and also the addition. So just copy that percent, put here. And for my model tax rate, to just be equal to addition of my corporate tax plus my what? Plus my additional applicable tax. Then I can copy this so you don't need to copy this my percent that shows in 0, or just copy it here. All right, so corporate tax. If I go online and I check what is a US corporate tax, I think that should be 21%. 21%. So copied, just make it the same across. Now for the tax rate is very, very interesting when you are building your model, right? And most times that is also, it could be one of the reasons where you're also building the model, you're also building the operational model. Okay, but let's hope we're going to have time, right, to be able to cover the tax aspect of it. Maybe where we're going to have like a tax loss, right? Tax relief, capital allowance. Okay, so let's hope we have time to also capture that. All right, so for tax, we all know that tax is being paid at the end of the year, right? And not as if tax is being paid monthly. So what we do is we are going to create like a mask that shows us that yes, this is the end of, so we assume that tax will be paid at the end of the year, which is December. Okay, so that means by the time we do our monthly model, we have a formula that will be doing what, that can sum based on the last 12 months for us. So at each period, it will just sum backward to a month that is equal to 12. So let me see. Did we create something like end of the period mask? If I go to my control, did we create anything like that? Okay, so should we create it in our input, or we should create it in our calculations? Let's see which one should we use. Which one? Okay, so let's come to our control. Let's come to our control. Under this our timeline. Under this our timeline, right? So I'm going to insert let me insert two. I will insert two row, and I'll call this end of the FY flag, right? Then start of the FY flag. So end of the FY flag and also start of the FY flag. So we are doing this in our control worksheet under the timeline. All right, and I think it's quite straightforward. So end of the year, just type equal to month of my end date. If you press enter, it will give you what the month is. Are you equal to what? So month a year. We created that formula already. A name, and press enter. Okay. Let me do it again. Equal to. So go to your control, right? The last one we have there is cell 34, which is year counter. So insert two row, then type one, end of the year flag, then the other one, start of the year flag. Okay. So once you do that, come under the month and type equal to month. Select your end date. And equal to, then type month a year. We've already created that and naming. Okay, and press enter. So maybe you can put everything in a bracket and multiply by 1. Right? Then you can drag it across. But are you sure that if you go to where you have December, it should give us 1. There. If you go to the next one, so December 2026, so the December year will always give you the truth. So which means that represents the end of the what? The end of the year. So the start of the year, you do it the other way around, which will now be what? That one will be using the start date. So equal to my month of my start date. Okay. Close your brackets. Are you equal to? I think 1 is 1. So 1 will always be 1. So let's just type 1 there. Okay. Enter. Then I can put both of them in brackets and multiply by 1. And drag it across so that you see January, true. Go to the next one, true. Why is the end coming before start? Any way you want to do your own. So it's not, as I said, it's very flexible. If you want to put the start, fine. Just make sure you have what we need. Okay, so you can see. So go to the beginning of each of the January. It's going to tell you. You see the one there. So month. So you extract the month in the end date. Are you equal to? If you're working with the same template we have, we created a name for our 12 months. So what this is saying is, if you extract the month number, if it's equal to 12, which is what we've created that name for as a month a year. So in case you missed, you did not watch the template, I will created the template. I want to revisit that. So equal to this, put all the formula inside brackets and multiply by 1. Then for the start date, month in our start date equal to 1. Close the bracket and multiply by 1. So we know that we have our start date and end date. So now let's go back to our inputs. Let's go back to our input. Let's go back to our inputs. Let's go back to our inputs, and here we need our end of the FY flag. I'm sure you know what you are doing. So just to link, so end of the year, formula for the end date. So number one is understand what you want to do and what you want as a result. So we are saying end date, which means we need period that as long as the date ends in December, that's the end of the period, because we believe the business is January to December. Okay. So now I know might need to also be dynamic, assuming you are bidding for a model that is not a January to December calendar. That's another approach of a thing. So equal to extract the month. So what month does it is extract the month from a date. So equal to, so if I type month here and I select this date, it's going to tell me that January is the first month in FY in a full 12-month calendar. That's what that is saying. That's what that is saying. So there's no way you can have one. So, and you are saying extract the month equal to the months a year. We've already created that. Month a year is the same thing as 12 months. So if you go to your, if you come under your annual, you come under your, where did we create that? So if you come to your month in a calendar year here, month in a calendar year where we type 12, if you go to your formula name box, right, you see the 12 there. That's what we've renamed to month in a year. Then type this month equal months of the date, end date. Make sure you are selecting the end date equal to months a year. Put everything in brackets and multiply by 1. Simple as that. Then the end date is just select the month of the start date. If you are equal to 1, 1 will always be equal to 1 too. There's no issue with that. Okay? Do we have that? So end of the year flag. So let's link that. So let's link end of the year flag. Make sure you are under the month period. So equal to, go to your control and link that to your end of the year FY flag, and you can drag it across. So link your end of the year, link it here. Link it here. Okay. So by now, I believe you should know how to use HLOOKUP. So use your HLOOKUP. Okay. Use your HLOOKUP to get the applicable tax rates in each month and multiply it by the flag. That is, let's do it together. So equal to my lookup. Let's use lookup. Lookup. I should look for what? Lookup value. Should look for this 2025. You should look for the 2025. Okay. Comma in what? In the list of the year that we have here, which I'm going to keep constant. So look for the set. All these basic Excel formula should not be what we are not doing Excel training. So look for this year. Look for it in the list of the year that we have here. Okay. Comma and return the what? Then return this our model annual percent. Then keep that constant. Highlight the range, close the brackets, and press enter. So you can format it. Want it to show in percent. So format it to show in percent. Want it to show in percent. So if you drag it across, I'm quite sure you have the 21% across. But remember, we said tax will be charged at the end of the year and not as if it's being charged monthly. So by the time we do our calculation, we are going to have more like a 12-month cumulative profit before tax. and we multiply that by the tax rate. So once you have this, the formula, right, 21, then multiply by what? Come to the end, multiply by the EY flag. By the end of the FY flag, enter, and you drag it across. So that will just show you 21% only in December. So go to the December, it's the same thing at the end of the December, at the end of the year, and at the end of the year. So check, 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 check. Have you done your H lookup? If you've done your your lookup, if you've used your lookup, I should not be, I'm not teaching you lookup again because we've used it in the previous session. So lookup, look for the period in the list of the period here. Okay. Then give us the range of the tax rate that we have, enter, then multiply by your end of the FY flag, and you drag that across. Sorry guys, I know it was stated that it's more like an advanced class. Okay, so that's for the tax rates. Which other thing do we need? Which other thing do we need under our macro data? So I know there are cases where you are building the model, and also the model needs to be in two currency. So for example, we are building this in dollar, and maybe they are saying, hey, should be able to have the option to view it both in dollar and in pounds. Should we do that? Should we do that? Should we do that? Don't let us scatter the class. I think we should stick with one currency. What do you guys think? I think we should stick with one currency. Don't let us include the currency stuff into this. No, don't let us scatter the class. So where they have the option to be able to select from between currency A and currency B. You guys are saying we can try. Should we do that? Should we do that here? Should we do that? 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 The way you guys are saying yes, we should, yes, we can, yes, we can, yes, we can. Okay, you brought it up. No, the fact that I brought it up did not say we are doing it. The fact that I brought it up did not say we are doing it. Should we do it? Let me ask myself. No, you are not. Please, you are not getting recording of this video. I'm sorry. As I said, this is more like an advanced thing. So I think I'm really slow enough. Yes. Should we do it? 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 Why do we have 0% model tax rate for some period? Okay, I'm not sure that's okay. All right, so let's copy this tax rate. Let's copy this tax rates and paste it here, and let's call this our FX rate. Let's call this our FX rates. So yeah, so if you've gotten 21 across, just multiply your 21% multiply by the end of the year flag. So that's one of the usefulness of using flag and mask. Yeah, so instead of using, so I know some people would have used if this period end date is equal to December, then do the so, but try as much as possible to reduce the use of your if function in your model, especially if you are building this kind of large model. So FX rates. Now for the FX rates, so we are saying we should use let's say between US and pounds. Okay, but our main model will be in what? Do you guys really want us to do that? You know what? Let's put the FX rate. Let's put it in maybe another the advanced 2 class. Yes, don't let us put it in this, right? If it will be, yes, it is not. If it is kind of complicated, right? And I don't want to scatter the class. So let's still leave that. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm also trying to manage. I'm trying to balance between people that are at the level 10, people at the level 2, people at the level 5. So don't let's scatter the class. We will do it later in one of our few sessions. Yeah, because it's kind of very interesting. That's just the truth. Because if you are using this FX thing, then you want to the business is getting loan, then you also need to convert exchange loss, deal which application, which one is applicable, and all those things. All right, so that's our macroeconomy, right? Then the next thing, so let's highlight this our two header, copy, and I'll just always leave a row, paste it there. Okay, then let's go straight to our operations. Let's go to our operations. Now, I know most people revenue, as I said, it's not as if it's one way or two things. You can decide to start with your revenue. Some start with cost. You can start with any structure you want, but always make sure it's kind of tell a very good story. So let's start with our revenue. Let's start with our revenue. Let's start with our revenue. Let's start with revenue. Let's start with revenue. Okay. Now, from our information request lists, oh, sorry guys, I know we are behind our schedule. Okay. So from our information request list, this is the product pricing. Okay. This is the product pricing that the client's giving to us. So they have two products. So the first thing we need to do is let's have our products. So here, maybe I'll just call this products. So we just create like a range name so that we don't need to repeat our product name. So concrete bag and concrete cedar block. I'll just paste them here. So that's our product. So maybe call this product type. Let's call this product type. So always remember, it's not about the formula. It's about what you need to do, what you want to do, and also how you interpret the formula. Okay. So product type. Then let's have our product pricing. 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 Okay. So I'll type equal to, so which means we always link any of the products anytime we need the list of our product, we always link it back to this guy that we've created here, to the product type. And that kind of allows us to be able to, in case they want to change the name, you change it from one cell and it's kind of apply across. Okay. And our rate is what? USD. So type my USD. Do we have the did we have do we have the currency? If I go to my control, did we create currency? Okay, so I think okay, so that we won't be typing USD. Let's go to our control under model information. So we call this currency 1, and then we call this maybe currency 2. So currency 2. Okay, so this USD, highlight it, then go to your name box and just type your currency. So put currency 1 there. Currency 1. Put it as currency 1. So go to your control, under your control. You've already created currency. So put currency 1, put it as a USD, currency 2. So currency 2 will now be, so I'm going to add additional one there. I will call this model value division. So let's assume we'll be dividing, let's say our model will be in a thousand units, which I think is mostly common as compared to a million. And here we can now create our USD, then our iPhone, then 1, 2, 3, so that it's kind of appear like this. Okay, so I hope we get what we are trying to do. So model currency 1, put it to USD, go to your formula, your name box, type the model currency 1 there, then add another row, call it model value division, type 1,000 in it, then model currency 2, just put your USD and 3 iPhone and 30. So maybe in case your own will be in million, you can just, that means we just change the model value division to 1,000 and we change the currency to unit to comma million. So put this, go to your name box and call it currency 2. Put it in currency 2. Okay. Then the model division, click on the 1,000 that you've typed, right? Now, I know some people usually prefer to call it 1,000, or if you are using million, you also call it million. Now, because of the dynamism in it, but I think let's call it 1,000 so that at least we all agree we are using 1,000. So come here and type 1,000. Go to your name box and type 1,000 there. So which means, so make sure the name you've created, if you click on the cell, go to your name box, make sure the name is also showing there, USD. Go there, make sure it is showing. The model division unit, make sure it's showing in 1,000. Right, so make sure you're just trying to create that flexibility, a little bit dynamic. Okay, hope you are good. All right, so let's go back to our input. Go back to our input. So under our product pricing, so you can just type equal to currency 1. So that's just showing USD. So instead of you typing and coding the USD, so in case things change, it's easy for us to change it from one source and it's apply across. Then our product, just put that as an input. The same thing for the second product. If I go to my model, so first one is 5.5, second one is 2.34. Now put that at the decimal at the end. All right. So add the decimal at the end. Product 1, product 2. And I also think they also gave us these pricing incremental rates, right, which is management's expected incremental factor. Now remember, we've already created our CPI for the pricing incremental rate. Now that CPI is, we only created it to make provision for what? For time value of money. That's what that is saying basically. Okay, so making provision for time value of money, it does not affect management incremental factor. Now I know, yes, there are cases where management will tell you that, you know what, only apply management incremental factor and don't apply the pricing inflation rate. So there are cases like that. So which means you might need to create something like a switch as well, right? That kind of switch off, maybe if the pricing inflation rate is not applied and they're only using management incremental factor, you also need to be able to state that. Okay, so they've given us our pricing incremental rates according to management. So I'll put that one. Let's put that one below here. So let's just call it this, because this is taking space. So let's call it management growth. Management growth. Put that as percent. So under each year, I'll just put that as input, and I'll go and copy this guy. So I think it's only year 3 and year 5, 10%. So year 3, 10%, and year 5, 10%. That should be in percent. So let me format that to show in percent. So 10% in year 3 and 10% in year 5. I should come again. So if you go to your IRL, your information request list under the pricing costs, we are just copying what we have here. I'm not doing anything special. I'm copying from the information request. The information we get from the client, that's what I'm feeding in here. We've not even done anything. I just imputing. So product price 1, price 2, the management growth. So they said in year 3, 10%, in year 5, 10%. So if you look at the information request, the document was shared with us in the last session. So you can also check it. So they hope this, as I said, yes, this is management growth. And we still also have, remember, we also have our what? Our price inflation rate. Now, one of the reasons why we usually consider both inflation and pricing rate is if you are doing your valuation or you are doing your investment viability, right? No matter how you and lie about the growth and the whole thing, your discounting factor will still drop everything back to what the value might be. Okay. Okay. That's quite straightforward, right? Are you good? So now let's bring in this, our monthly growth rate. Let's bring it under our what? Let's bring it under our monthly period. Okay. So I think let's see if you can copy this, the one we use under cost incremental factor. I think it would be a good one. So if I can copy my formula under my inflation rate, right? So we want to we just want to reuse that formula. So if I come to my inflation rates, right? Let me look at this. Okay. If I copy it and I paste it under my management and I edit the formula, it should be linking to the same thing. And because of the cell referencing that we use. So check. So that's one of the reasons when you are creating a formula, always think about you reusing it in your model and make sure you maintain the same structure. Okay. So I can copy this my format so that the 0% show as dash, so it's easy to read. Okay. So as any growth I will be seeing, supposed to start from year 3, right? Then nothing in year 4. Then you see in year 5. That should be straightforward. So if you've impute your inflation rate, if you've imputed it properly, just copy the formula and paste it the same road that you have that your management growth, just paste it, right? And I say you should copy the format that you have where 0% just represent that, so that the reason why we are doing that is it's easy to read and they know where the growth is coming. So year 3, then year 4 is dash, then year 5 you see the growth. Okay, is that clear? Any question? Okay, so let's now have our management growth factor. So management growth factor, I think we can use the same formula that we use in this our inflation rate under cost. So I'll just copy it. I'll just copy my inflation index, copy the inflation index, right? And paste it here. Paste it. Okay. So paste the formula and we need to update the formula. All right. So paste it. Said come to your inflation, your cost, the one that we use under our cost, copy the inflation index, just copy the cell and paste it under this our management growth factor. Okay. By the time you paste it, we need one thing, we need something which is missing, and that is our what? Our annual counter. Our annual counter. So which means we need to link our annual counter. And let's see if we can link from here. Okay, so just copy your annual counter in your inflation, in your cost incremental factor. Control copy the entire row and paste it here. We've already logged the annual counter from the control. So in case you did not lock it, you might just need to go back and link it. You can copy your management across. So being a financial modeler is very fun. Let's put it that way. Okay. So once again, once you've used your lookup to get the management growth under each period, all right, use that, then get your annual counter. So copy the annual counter that we have under our cost incremental. So we're using this approach because we believe the price saying they've given to us will be the same thing in year one. So copy it and paste it. Just leave a row, copy it. Management growth factor, please. Yes, just copy what we have here under this cost incremental. Copy the inflation index here. Copy the formula. Control C. Come to your management growth. Copy it below that management growth. So this become management growth factor. So the same formula we put under our cost incremental factor is the same thing here. And I said, go and copy the entire annual column. Control C. So because we've logged the row, we did that last session. Copy the entire row and paste it here below so that the formula is using the period. Remember the formula: 1 plus growth rate raised to, open your bracket, the period minus 1. All right. Enter. And you can drag that across. That will now give us our pricing under each year, which will now be equal to my pricing, which I'm going to keep the column constant. Keep the column constant, right? Keep the column constant, and I will multiply by my what? By my what? By my management growth factor. My management growth factor. So equal to my product price, which is that input, right? Multiply. So make sure you keep the row constant. So $H multiply by my what? Multiply by my management factor. I can also do the same thing again. So do the same thing again for the second product. So equal to my pricing for my second product, multiply by my what? Multiply by my management growth factor. Enter. You can copy that across for the 5 years. Copy that across for the 5 years. So just to repeat again, please, I'm not making the recording of this session available again. Yes, I only did that because of the network complaint. This is an advanced class, and we have said you are expected to be on guard, right? Yeah, these are more like a basic Excel, basic modeling thing. So, all right. So we good? Check your pricing. Look at when it's increasing. Make sure it's when there's that management growth. So 10%, 10%. Check. It should increase in year 3, right? As this will not be on my, as I said, and I'm repeating again this time. I'm not sharing anything on my YouTube channel, right? This is a this is a private bootcamp session. If I'll be sharing video, I would have decided to just do the recording and be asking people to go to the YouTube. So the 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 benefit you are getting is you are here, and that's why I'm saying I'm not, don't just watch me do it. Have your two screen or split your screen into two. Do it as I'm doing it, right? And then not basic Excel thing or okay. I missed the management growth factor calculation. So the management growth factor. So once you've created your management growth, okay, which is using your lookup. Then I said just go to your cost incrementer. So copy this inflation index, the inflation index that you have under your cost incrementer. You are doing the same thing. So copy it, copy, Control C, come below the management growth, which you've named that management growth factor. Paste it. If you edit the formula, you see it to be referring to 1 plus that same thing. So when we do anything in the session, please don't, you see, is the pain, is the sacrifice that you need to make. The challenge that is just part of the sacrifice you need to make. Maybe 2 hours, at least. I'm sure if you've taken like 2 to 3 hours to sit down with this since the last session, you should be able to have practice and also keep yourself up. Yeah, it's just the sacrifice we make. Some people decide to make the sacrifice, and trust me, once it becomes your own, is your own for life. Okay, so I have challenge with FY flag. I'm not sure FY should be still be anything for now, because I said one thing is one, what do you want to do end of the year, right? That's what we want. Equal to extract month, is the month being extracted, extract the month number, equal to 12. If it's equal to 12, then that's what we want, multiply by 1. You can't have 1 throughout. So month a year is the same thing as 12. So it's as good as if I'm saying 12 months. So equal to month. If I type month and I select the date, it's going to give me January is 1, February is 2, March is 3, April is 4. And we're saying, hey, look at it and check if the month is equal to 12. Close the bracket and multiply by 1. You can't get 1 all through. Sorry guys, maybe some of you might wait till when I'm doing the startup corporate uh beginner of a thing again. Yes. All right. So advanced class is always advanced class. I've been getting messages from people saying we are kind of too slow, that Excel should not be taking us way back and things like that. So you need to find the balance. But these are more like basic things. So sorry guys. Sorry. Okay, so we have this. We have our product pricing. So always remember that there are cases where we can also have management growth separate for product 1 and also separate for product 2. So you might want to do that. As I said, it's modeling. Client, our user can be so funny at times. So most times you might decide to even separate the product. So product 1 has its own separate, product 2 has its own separate. But for this one, let's stick to 1. Okay, so we have our product pricing, and the second one is our what? Our so let's see. So our quantity, yes. So let's have our quantity. Let's have our quantity. Let's have our quantity. Our quantity, our quantity. Let's have our quantity. So All right, so the first one we need is our what? Our forecast volume. So we have our forecast volume, our forecast volume. Let's have our forecast volume. So, but let's call this our base unit. So we call this base unit. So forecast volume. So forecast volume. All right, so equal to, I will link that to our what? Our product. So always remember that, link it to that same product. So that in case there is a need for us to change, and this will be unit and unit. Okay, so what are they giving us for the base inputs? Put this as my input, and that is what 5,000 and also 3,500. Okay, so this is the base unit, the base unit. So base unit basically is saying the amount we expect for a start, and then we can now factor in our what? Our monthly growth. Okay, so we have our forecast volume, then we also have our what? So considering it's a plant product, definitely they are going to have what? They are going to have a capacity. So let's call this production capacity. Production capacity. So make sure, remember, always link it to the product type that we've created. So in case where we need to make any change, it automatically flow there. So copy this, put it here. So for my information request list, so 20,000 and 15,000, which means monthly basis. This is the capacity of this, what they can produce and sell. What they can produce and sell. So speed is also part of the skill that a financial model must have. Yes, financial model analyst, definitely. Learning Excel is also part of speed. Sorry, guys. Sorry. All right. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? So now we are faced with one thing. It seems the management, they've not given us the production, the volume forecast growth, right? Which is one of the common interesting things that usually happen when you are dealing with clients. Okay, if you look at our information request list, they've given us the pricing, they gave us the expected management incremental pricing. Now to the volume, they only gave us the volume forecast and also the capacity of what they can produce and sell in a month. All right, now this becomes a big challenge for you as a modeler when you are building the model. Because now they've actually not given us the expected growth. As I said, it's an operational model. You expect to present it to them, make changes here and there, and the whole thing. So that's the same thing we are also going to do. Now, let me call this. So let's call this our forecast, growth. Or okay, unit forecast growth. Let's call this unit forecast growth. Unit forecast growth, right? And what we are going to do is We're going to create more like a table, right? Where management, in case they decide they want to make adjustments to the period and the date, is easy to do. So here, I'm going to type 1, then maybe equal to 1 plus this plus 1. We just want to create 5. So period. So this more represent like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. Okay. So year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and we can even format it so that it shows in year. I think we've created something like that. So year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Okay. And here, let's create something like, so I'm going to type 1, right? And I can also format that to show like month 1, month 1. So this plus 1. So this will be, we need like 12 months here. So we also need 12 months. So basically what we want to do is we want to create something like a matrix. We want to create something like what? Like a matrix. Something like a matrix. So which means year 1, we are going to have all the expected growth here. For the first 12 months in year 1, we go to year 2, we do the same thing. We go to year 3, we have the same thing, right? So more like a matrix so that it's kind of easy. Yeah, I know people usually apply. So let me format it in percent. I know people prefer to, so instead of you having it like that long months period, which might be difficult for them to be able to update, if you have it in form of something like a matrix like this, it's kind of easy for them to also update. So which means everything year 1, the first 12 months, okay, under year 2, the next 12 months, under year 3, 12 months, under year 4, like that. Okay, so someone is okay. Why don't you start the month starting in column U? And so assuming we are putting all our inputs from month 1 to month 60. Yes, we can do that. But as I said, most time it can be difficult for them to be putting the growth under each month because it's just way too long. So what you can do is you can create something like a matrix, like this. So year 1, so they know that year 1, this is everything under year 12. In fact, I think we should use the other approach. Yes, so let's have those months here. So month 1, month 2, right? So let me format it in month. I think maybe we should, so let me see the second one, then let me know which one you think is better. So we have month 1 to 12 here, and here we still maintain our year 1, year 2, and year 3 thing. So let's see which one will be very easier. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Then we're going to just have those inputs. So which one do you think is better? Okay, so someone is saying the second one is better. Let me hear from you guys. So this is 1. So this is the matrix 1. It's saying year 1, year 2, year 3, and easy to just put month 1, month 2 down to 12. This second approach is saying you have all the months by the side. Month 1, month 2, month 3 up to year 12. Then you have the year 1, year 2, and at least this year 1 is still consistent with the yearly header that you have here. Which one do you think we should use? Let me hear you guys' opinion so that we know which one we are using. Okay, interesting. Now it's getting interesting. The first one, let me hear from others. Which one do you think we should use? Now, this is where preference comes into play. Which one do you think will be very easier? Which one do you think kind of easy for the clients, for them to understand? So second one is better. Second one, the more fast compliant. The first one. Let me hear from you guys, please. The first one, so that we don't have to transpose when calculating monthly. Let me hear from guys. The first one is easier. Okay. Guys, which one do you think we should use? The second one we maintain consistent with it, right? Right. I feel that second one we also, to if we format this to also show in here, kind of maintain with the header, right? But which one? Which one? Which one? Now you guys are really confusing us. Which one should we use? Let me see. Which majority? Did the majority carry the vote? Should we use the first one or the second one? Let me hear from you guys. We have up to 40 people. Should we use the first one or we should use the second one? First or the second one? Which one? Which one? Which one? Which one should we use? First one, the second one? Okay, some guys agree with the second approach, some agree with the first approach. So interesting. So you know what? Let's use the let's use the second approach. Let's use the second approach. At least the second approach still kind of align with our yearly dates up here. So let's use the second approach. Sorry guys. Sorry. So you can put the month here. So maybe January, and if you drag down, to automatically fill it for you. Okay, so maybe let's put it on that column H. Column H. Okay, so put this, remember to format it as percent. Okay, so month one will be the same. So let me format it. I can just copy this my percent format here. Format input cell that I have here, and I can paste it across. That can move fast. So the first month will definitely be 0. Okay, not that one. That's not the format we want. So that the 0 is just shown as dash. Well, let's leave that. That's by the way. So maybe let's say in year 1, let's maintain average of 2.5% month-on-month growth. Then in year 2, right? Maybe 3%. Year 4, maybe 2%. Year 3, 2%. Year 4, maybe 1.8%. Then year 5, let's assume they will do some interesting thing, and maybe 2.2. 2.2. So this is average. So the average. So if you sum it, up, year 1 is saying 27.5% total. Year 2, 36%. So which means it's high enough, right? Month 4, 21. Year 4, 21%. So if you highlight everything, you see the sum below your table. My screen is not changing. Hope it's not network. Let me stop share and let me share again. Okay, I'm resharing my screen. So year 1. So leave month 1. Month 1 is the same thing as the base period, right? It's the same thing as the base value that they've given us. So start from month 2, right? Under year 1, 2.5. Then for year 2, 3%. So by the time management on see this, they can also decide based on the percent that is applicable and things like that. But make sure it's very flexible and easy to also update. Okay, and I hope you understand why we are doing this. So this one you can also incorporate the override function and the thing there. your screen is not showing. I just reshared my screen now. I think it should be showing. Let me stop share again. Let me reshare. At times, if network is not that good, can affect your screen showing. Okay, yeah, it could be network of it. So we have the unit forecast, right? We have the unit forecast. Okay. Now, the other thing that we also now need to factor in into the model is what we call seasonality. Now, I see people build model and you will see the revenue just growing on a straight line. From month 1 down to month 60, it will just be growing. In fact, let's do it together so that even if it's the only other thing we'll do before the end of the session today, we know that we've done something great. All right, so let's now have our unit forecast. Let's have our unit forecast. Let's have our unit forecast. Let's have our unit forecast. So what we need to do is now we need to use a formula to bring this, to bring all these percent, to bring it under each of the months. Okay, so we'll be working with, so let's use that. What should we do? Okay, let's add additional 2 row here so that we can have the unit, we can have the unit forecast. So unit forecast growth rate. So in case, I can just put a border here so that they understand this a whole section. So months period. Right. So sorry guys, speed is also part of the training. So yeah, I know some people might fall off the speed, well, it's just part of the training. Yeah, sorry guys. Okay, so which formula do you think can help us to pick from the way we've created? So even if you are using the first approach or you are using the second approach, the formula will still need the formula to be able to help us get it. Which formula do you think can help us look at year 1? So we need, okay, very good. So which means we also need our what? We need our yearly mask. We need our yearly mask. If I go to my control, did we create something like that? Oh, yes, very good. So you can see this yearly counter. Yearly counter that just give us, that counts the first 12 months from January to December. That's the first 1 1 1 1 1. Then we go the second one, we just count the next second 2 years. So that's what we need. So I'll come into my input and I'll bring my yearly counter. I'll bring my yearly counter. As I said, operational model it's always bulky. That's just the truth, and it's not expected to be operated by someone that does not have knowledge. Okay, all right. So here I'll just do my equal to and link that to my yearly counter. I'll link that to my yearly counter across. Put that as a linked cell style. Link your yearly counter. I'll link my yearly counter in here. So let's link our yearly counter from our control. We link it straight into the input. Okay. So I believe you've linked your yearly counter. So the next thing is now let's link this our matrix. We need to link the respective percents under each of the year. Now, which formula do you think we can use? So what we need is, please, where is the control? Seriously? Control is your control sheet. You have your control sheet. We've been using this. So go to your control sheet. Under your control sheet, you can see the year. Under your timeline, you have your yearly countdown. So as a modeler, always know your model. So that's why I said, check the video and do create your own. Right? Most times when I build model, I build from scratch. I'm not a template modeler. Yes, it can be stressful, but you know what it helps me to do? It helps me to know everything in the model. If you wake me up from my sleep, even models that I built 5 years ago, I will still be able to tell you. I don't need to be looking for where what is. I know where it is because I built it from scratch. So definitely index and match. But might be using two match now. So equal to, right? Index, which is the first thing. Now, I will try to be very detailed with this. Index, the first thing is asking for is what's my array. What is my array? What we want as an output. So I will highlight all the percent range. Press my F4 so that I lock it. I will lock it. So index, the first thing is highlight all the percent that I have. From my year 1 down to year 5, month 1 to month 12. Highlight all the inputs like this. Because that is what we want as what? As a result. Comma. Right? Now, the second one is always very interesting. Most times, I won't lie to you guys. I always interchange it. Right? So the first thing is the row column. So the row column, that's so type your match. Type your match, right? The match is what? You should look for this month number. Should we use this month number? Okay, you know what? We need another thing to also link here. So sorry, we need the other thing to link, which will now be, so remember we've linked the yearly counter. So which is the first 12 months, year 1, the next 12 months, year 2, like that. Now the next one we now need is the count of 12 months counter. So if you come to this, your control, you see 12 months counter. Right? Operational model is not beans. Trust me. It's one of the best skill you can have. Trust me. Yes, yes. Modeling is very interesting, right? I see people saying, I want to learn modeling, I want to learn modeling. But if you get into the real modeling, trust me, you want to run. You will want to run. So here we have this month, so that counts for us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? Then the next 1, 2, just like that. Okay. No, don't worry. We'll continue with this meeting. You will not be reinvited. So copy this. So this is not a free. This is not a free Teams meeting. So let's also link our 12-month counter. All right. So sorry guys, I might need to please for a few minutes so that we can just, even if it's only this volume that we can complete. Okay. So equal to, I will link that to my control where I have this my 12-month counter. 12-month counter, and copy that across. Okay, so you can see that. So the first one is yearly, so which counts the first 12 months to be 1 year. The second one counts the next 12 months to be what? To be the next year 2. And the next 12 months represent year 3, just like that. Okay, so we need that. We need that as well. Okay. All right. Now let's put our formula again. Let's go back to that our unit for cost growth. I believe you've linked it. That should not take us time. All right. Now let's go back. So equal to index. So I'll go to under my month 1, column U. All right. Type equal to index. index, all right, then when we said index is what is asking for, the first thing is array. So said highlight everything you have from this 0% down to the 2.2% from year 1 to year 5, month 1 to month 12. Lock it. Press your F4 once. Okay. All right. Comma. We're on the same page. Then now type your match. Type your match. Type your match. Now, you should match the 12-month counter, the one we linked here. This 12-month counter, not the year. The 12-month counter. You should match the 12-month counter. You should match it where? So put a comma. You should match it in my what? Lookup array, which is my what? This is my month 1 to month 12 that we typed here. Remember, we actually type 1, 2, 3 ahead. So it's just formatting that we added that month of a thing to it. So keep it what? Also keep it locked. Keep it locked. So let me do that again. Let me do that again. So index, right? Index you've highlighted from year 1 to year 5 over the 12 months, which is what we want as results. For the row, set type your match. You should match what? You should look for this month counter. So which means month 1, right? Comma in what? In the list of the month that we have from this month 1 to month 12. Keep it constant, F4 once, comma, and give us the exact match. Close the brackets for our row. Okay. Add another comma. Then we now want to use the column. The column, which I believe it is the year to the year. So repeat the same thing. Now match. Match what? Match my year, which is the year counter. Match my year counter. Okay. Comma. You should match it in what? You should match it in the list of year header that we have here, which are going to lock, comma, then give us the exact match and close your bracket 2 times. Welcome to advanced modeling. Is this even an index and match? Is not advanced. It's still part of basic Excel thing. Should I do it again? Should I do it again, guys? I think it's quite straightforward. I think it's quite straightforward, right? So you can copy one of our percent formats here. You can copy it here, and I'll paste it here. And you can drag it across for the 12 month. And you can look through and be able to check. So if you're also using the other approach, right, then that means the year becomes the first row, then just transpose it like that. Did we get it, or should I do it again? The guys that are still following, please. Okay, so Felix. So I said it's just the understanding of what you need to do. So let me do it again. So just the understanding of what we need to do. So firstly, equal to index. I said array of index is what we want in return. So I said we come in here, we highlight everything from year 1 down to year 5, 12 months. Okay. I'll lock it, comma, then the row. So if you look at the row, numbers are row in Excel. Okay. So I'm putting my match. You should go and match what? Then scroll down where we have this 12-month counter. So which means I'm saying you should go and look for the month that is equal to 1. In the what? In the list of the months that we've typed here. I like the 12 months, keep it constant. Okay. Comma, it should give us the exact match. So please always remember to put that comma and 0 exact match. Yes, if not, you might be giving you another result. Then comma, then for the column, we now say you should also go and match then the year counter that we've listed here. you should go and match it in what? In the list of the year that we have here, which you are also going to lock. So remember, those locking are very important. They are very, very important. Comma, then 0, then close the bracket twice, enter, and you can drag it across. I think one of the most versatile and magic function in Excel is index and match. Yes. So XLOOKUP, yeah, XLOOKUP is great, but XLOOKUP is, I think it's still available to if you're using Office 365, which is always the best option for you, by the way. Okay. Good. Good, 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 good. All right. Now let's now do our forecast volume, because we've gotten the monthly growth. So also make sure you check. So in the last 12 months, that's 2.2. If you come to your matrix, you check, make sure it's also the same percent. So self-auditing is always good. It's always good. Can you come again with the explanation of the index? I took my time to explain that. Don't let us go back. We've exhausted our time. We are using extra time. So index, first thing is what we want as return. Okay, comma, then match the month. So that month 1 to 12, 1 to 12 that we've linked, month count, 12 month counter. Match it to the list of the months you have here. So please, in case you don't know match and index, see, I will beg you, if you want to be a good modeler, see, just dedicate 2 hours to index and match for the next 1 week. Please. See, you just see it's part of the sacrifice you need to make. Yes. See, index and match is one of the most versatile function you can know as a modeler if you are building a model. Even data analytics, trust me. Just take your time, maybe even if it's 30 minutes in a day for the next 5 days. Go online, search for index and match, download case study, go to YouTube. YouTube is always the number one, because you see the video, you can recreate the case study and do it yourself. Yes, index and match is so powerful. I'm telling you, I was faced with one. I wanted to create something we call like a dynamic chart in Excel at work, and we did not want to use something like offsets, because most of our clients don't use Office 365. Some want to open it on Google Sheets and online Excel and all those things. So which means if you are using a dynamic function, it might not work. And we all got stuck. The only formula that was available was index and match. And index and match is also dynamic. There's a way you use it. So if it's 30 minutes in a day for the next 5 days, just make that sacrifice. Go online, how to use index and match to solve business case study related cases. Look at one, spend 10 minutes there, go to the next one, look at what the person have done, the approach. Trust me, index and match is magical. Yes, right? Okay. So we have this now. You can now go. So there are cases where you can have difference from product 1 and also difference from product 2. Okay. So now let's increase our growth. So equal to this same input, link it to your base period under column T. So just link it under the base period. So most time what I usually do is, if I'm linking it to the base period, I will just format it as like a faded ash color. Or you see this, the same way we formatted this one, I can also format it the same way. I can format it, just change the fill color here. So I can format it like this. So what I'm basically telling them is, yes, you don't need to change this because it's coming from here. So we could either use linked cell style, but just telling them it represents a base period figure. Okay, and you can now put your growth formula base last year multiplied by, open my bracket, 1 plus what, my unit forecast growth rate, enter. To do the same thing, go to my base period, multiply by my bracket 1 plus using the unit forecast. I can drag that for the forecast period. And drag that for the forecast period. It's getting interesting, right? Yes, modeling is very interesting. It's very interesting. And that's why I'm always, when people reach out to me and say that I should come and guide them and all those things, might not be able to roll with my own level of of dedication and sacrifice. And I can be a very tight guidance at times. Right, because you see that discipline. Well, maybe because I'm actually a self-taught financial modeler, so I didn't have opportunities to see. But those when I started, you can only see few. I think then it was Wall Street. That kind of has more of what can help you, right? It's lately that people now start giving attention to it, and you can see materials here and there. So just need to make those sacrifices. Now this is what we have. Okay, are we good? All right. So we've increased this, but now this is not what we'll be using in our model. And as I said, you see that modeling can be very, very interesting at times. Now, I'll put this down. So insert how many? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I will insert 5 rows, and I'll call this actual volume based on capacity. So actual volume based on capacity, right? I will link this here. I will link this here. Link the products, and now let's have the actual unit based on what? Based on capacity. So one, we've done our forecast volume, then we need our what? Our actual volume based on capacity. So you can see, as I said, this more like a typical way we kind of build a operational kind of model. So you always see that you need to insert a row up there, insert a row up there, insert a row up there. So which means if you are watching it, if you are looking through the formula, you might you might want to get confused because something is coming before something. You need to insert a row before something. So it's kind of always very interesting, by the way. Okay, so now for this our production, so I think we can remove that. Okay, yeah, we're still going to need that row, so still leave it for now. Now for the actual capacity, so we are going to just keep this constant. So we assume they are going to maintain the same capacity across. So we assume they are going to maintain the same capacity across. So we can just drag that across for the 5 years. Going to assume they are going to maintain the same capacity across. Okay. So now, if I come to my year 5, do we have any months where our forecast is above our capacity? All right. So which means we now need to restrict this our forecast to our what? To our production capacity, and to do that equal to minimum of what? What we forecasted and the what? And the should we do it on this? Okay, no, don't let's do the capacity here, right? Let's incorporate seasonality first before we will now apply the production capacity. So you see, it's all about thinking about business, right? And operational model can be very interesting at times. And that's why I always say, hey, know the fundamentals of modeling first. Then every other thing is we are adding to it and think about business wise. So I will come down here and let's create something we call season. So let me copy this, my unit forecast growth. header and put it here and call this seasonality. Let's factor in seasonality. Seasonality. Now, this is a typical, this apply to manufacturing businesses, right? And even at times when it's December and maybe the business they've not meet up to their budget, you know what they usually do? They will call on their distributors, and I'm sure some guys that work in that space also know it. And they will give them those products on credit. You know what? Because yes, they can recognize the revenue and they will collect the cash in the next period. But what will happen is that period they are going to have huge sales. Revenue will grow up very high in that period. So which means a typical business does not grow on a straight line. Their time is most times is always like a zigzag of a thing. And that's the same thing we also need to do what incorporate into our model. So so you can highlight this our month 1 to month 12 that we have under our matrix, right? And paste it here. Let's paste it there and let's put it as percent. So let's put it as percent. Put that as percent, and I can copy one of our percent format here. So put it under month 1 to month 11. Month 1 to month 11. Month 1 to month 11, seasonality. So which means for typical operational model, most times it's not always like a straight line growth. We are going to plug that into a chart for us to also see. Okay. Now, this is more like an household and construction related thing. So let's now think about seasonality that we can impute into this. So most times you might need to do some extra research or also use like a professional judgmental or industry knowledge to be able to pick to get seasonality in here. Okay, so now let's say month 1, which is January. I think most so or maybe if you want to okay, yeah, so January, which is month 1, I think most times January is always kind of slow because people they've really spent much in December. But before we do that, let's put like a check here. So my month 12 will be equal to 1 minus the summation of other months. It's always good. So it's more like a control check. So 1 minus the summation of other 12 months. And if I add everything up here from my month 1 to month 12, it should give me what? It should give me 100%. Hope you get what we are trying to do. So we're saying, but anything they put in here, right, must always be equal to 100. So put 10 in the 11 months, and the last one should always balance it up for us to give us 100%. So 1, which is 100% minus the summation of everything you put in year 1 to what? To year 11. To month 1 to month 11. Okay? Okay? So we have that. All right, so let's say month 1, I think things are always kind of slow. Maybe we put that as 5%. Month 2, most maybe people are starting to pick things off, 5.5, right? Because you know they sell cement. So just you kind of think about this the period, how that kind of affects purchasing power, then people want to do some projects and things like that. Okay. So month 3, think it's still kind of let's say 5.5. Then month 4, think it's more like a festive period, Easter and things like that. Maybe you expect more like a lower purchasing power. Then month 5, let's say people start uh, planning for the to have something before the end of the year, so maybe 7%. Month 6, month 7, maybe 8%. Then month 8, maybe more intense, month 12, then month 10, maybe 11, start dropping back then to month 8. All right, like that. Maybe let's even add to some other month, 7, uh, right? Then maybe this, So we're just thinking about kind of business seasonality. So most times you might need to do research, look at, but it's always difficult to get comparable on the monthly and kind of see the movement in their revenue and you think, but you just have to think like an analyst. Okay. So 6, so maybe 7.5. So then maybe this becomes 9. So we know December should be a little bit high, and maybe June. So June, let's put June as 9.5. Okay, all right. So you can copy this. I'm not sure if I copy and paste it in the chat box. You can be able to copy and paste it in your home. Let's see. So if I copy from the charts, okay, I'm not sure because it's going to copy the percent with it. Okay, yeah, you can copy and paste it and you format it as 0, all right, and you put it as your input sales type. So I think you can do that. So I've pasted it in the chat box. So copy the chat box, paste it as value, right? Then just the first level, put it as input and format it as percent, 1 decimal, so that you don't need to be typing it one after the other. All right. So you can see the seasonality. You can see the seasonality. All right. So once we finish, let's finish up with this our volume, and then we can call it a session. Oh, sorry that we're taking additional time. Okay, so once we've done that, I believe by now you should be able to use index on your own. So let's use index to get the seasonality for each of the months. So basically we are saying month 1, 5%, month 2, 5.5, month 3, like that. Okay, so let me put the formula. Let me put the formula here. So I'm saying equal to, so we can put it under that seasonality. We don't need to create additional. Should we create additional row under it? Let's just put it like that. So equal to index. Index, what I want is my array, as my array is the input for the month 1 to month 12, keep it constant, comma, then match my what? So match my this 12-month counter, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 12, right? Comma, and match it with my what? With the month 1 to month 12. Keep that constant and press and give me exact match. Close the bracket 2 times and press enter. I can format that as percent. Okay, so let me zoom out for us to see the formula. So index, what do we want as a result? Which is the input, comma, then match my 12-month counter, then match it with my my month period that I've listed here, month 1 to 12, comma, then give me the exact match and close your bracket 2 times. You can press enter and you can drag it across for the period. So make sure you check to be sure that they all match with your input under each of the months. The match with under each of the months. All right, so please, I'm on the same page. For people that are following, please. Okay, all right, good. Thank you for that. So by now, in fact, I should just tell you that, hey, use index and match, and you should go ahead. I believe that's the level I want you guys to be now, guys, because you already know what you want to do and the next thing to apply to it. All right. So once we've done that, now let's go back to our forecast. Can you share the Excel file after the session? I can't promise that. yet. But no recording, just know that. Maybe the file can be shared against next session, maybe. So now what we need to do now is this. Equal to. So let's come back to our actual forecast, right? So based on so let's call it based on capacity. I want us to, should we do it separately? Okay, so you know what, let's do, so actual volume based on seasonality. Let's first do seasonality first. Let's do seasonality. Don't let us lump it together. So based on seasonality. And how will the seasonality work? How will the seasonality work? So as I said, you can see the process. Insert a row, do it here, insert a row, go down here. So it's not like a straight line book thing. As I said, this is not a training. It's training that they will know that, oh, you need to do this first to do that. And so there's a script. But this one, this is the same way I kind of build my model. Yeah, right. So equal to, so let's factor in the seasonality. My month. So for example, product one, this 5,000, this 5,000 units. All right. 5,000 units multiply by months in a year. So because we are, so you multiply by 12. So because we are factoring in seasonality. And you know that seasonality is all over what? It's all over 12. So the period here, so the forecast volume multiplied by a month in a year, then multiply by what? So most times I kind of like doing something like this. So I put the first one in a bracket so that they know that this is the first thing. Even though you don't put it in brackets, still give it the same thing, but at least for easy read and understanding of the function. So they know that this is the first step, then go to next step. Yeah. So my forecast volume in that current month multiply by 12, right? Then now multiply by my seasonality. Multiply by my seasonality and press enter. So which means, yes, the business has, so it's a story of budget and actual. Saying, oh yes, the business has forecasted they will sell 5,000 in this particular month. But you know what? Because of the seasonality effect, they might not be able to sell up to this. So I'll do the same thing for the second product, equal to my 3,500 units multiply by my what? Months in a year. So multiply it by 12. So as good as you are converting it into yearly, right? And because your seasonality is monthly, so it just kind of help you to bring it back to a monthly unit, enter. So which means for the units two, for the product two, we're saying we're going to sell 3,500, but in actual sense, we are going to sell 2,100. So if you drag it and you highlight it over the period. So you look at the period like December. So if you check any of the December period, right, you can see that even though they forecasted they will be selling, so December 2025, this forecast, our straight line forecast is saying they were going to sell 6,560, but in real sense we'll be selling what? We'll be selling 9,000, which is more than what we've forecasted for. And you know what is also making up for that? Those periods that they are saying, for example, month one, they should be able to sell 5,000, they are selling 3,000. Right? Month two, they're supposed to sell 5,000, they are selling 3,000. So all those products, all those units are out to management also make sure they try to sell them out to be able to meet the budget for that period. So they all add up, and so which means it kind of give us a, even though this is what we expect them to for, and they are selling more than that, that means those units in the previous period coming to that. Yes, if you apply it, well, will there be a need for base? Definitely. Even your seasonality can have base case, best case, and worst case. Yes, don't worry, we'll still come back to the scenario of a thing. Yeah, right? Okay. So this is what that seasonality is saying. There's some period where the actual forecast based on seasonality will be higher than what you forecasted, and it's just because, hey, there's some period which seasonality is saying you've been able to sell lesser than that. Now I will add additional row, and this one will now be the actual volume based on capacity, which is what we are going to use in the model, right? So I can bring my product one and two here, which is what we are going to use. So actual, so for actual, I should call it actual model volume forecast, actual model volume forecast based on capacity. So this is what we are now going to use as our actual quantity. So you can see the interesting thing about building operational model. It must be well detailed. You must consider every other thing. Right? So for the volume based on capacity is just equal to mean of my volume forecast based on seasonality, comma, and the production capacity. Okay? So the forecast based on our seasonality, so minimum of what we forecast, also based on our seasonality, and the capacity, the production capacity, what the business can produce and sell. All right, enter, and I also just, if you copy the formula down to just automatically fill itself, and you can highlight everything across for the 60 months. For the 60 months, you can see a very good example. If you go to your months, your 5 years, your year 5, last few months, you can see that it kind of restricts you to what the capacity of the business, which is a very good example and a typical business case. So now, if we want to take a look at this, so just do your own, I just want to create a chart from here. So I will highlight my actual volume forecast, right? And I also highlighted my actual volume forecast based on capacity. And if I plug that into a chart, no, you don't need to do that, just to demonstrate. If I plug that into a line chart, we're going to see what this kind of look like. Okay, so don't worry, you don't need to do that. I just want to show you what this kind of what it looks like. So I said, don't worry, you don't need to do this. I'll let you look at my screen. Okay, so this should be actual. This should be volume forecast for the method for the first chart. Then this one will be the forecast, volume forecast based on seasonality and capacity. As I said, you don't need to create the chart. I just want to show you what this kind of mean. All right, and this is more like how a typical business, how they operate in real sense. So let me reduce the height. Okay. Now look at this. So you can come back to my screen and let's take a look at this. Now look at the first one. Look at the first one, volume forecast, which is just straight line. And this is more like a typical thing you see when modelers kind of build models. You just see that everything from year 1 down to year 60 will just keep increasing every month over 60 months. But look at what we have in the second one. Look at what we have in the second one. And to be candid, this is more like the pattern of how a typical business operates. Hardly will you see a business that keeps growing on a straight line. Now, note that we are not saying they will not grow. The figures are definitely increasing. But if you look at the growth, there's no way that the growth will be a straight. For example, today 5%, tomorrow 6%, next month 10%, another period 15%, and keep increasing over the next 5 years. So it's always more like a zigzag of a thing. And that's the same thing you need to incorporate when you are building a typical operational model. The volume is increasing. We are not saying the volume is not increasing. right? But you see that growth, you see that the pattern is not always a straight line of a thing. You need to be able to consider those things that affect business. In fact, there's this other one where they are saying, you know what, we call it elasticity adjustment. So what elasticity adjustment is saying is, if you are saying you are increasing your price, your product price by 10%, there is a corresponding effect on your unit that you are going to sell, because it's going to affect the purchasing power of certain people. So which means you might end up selling less. So those models that you see that, and you see that revenue is swiping up because pricing is increasing, and volume is decreasing. That's not the reality of a business. And that's where elasticity comes into play, saying, hey, if you increase your product price by 10%, there must be a corresponding response to your volume that you will sell in that particular period. Which means is either the volume will drop or increase. So it's not always a straight line thing. As a modeler, right, which is you are building an operational model, that's the same thing you should be able to factor into your model. So which means this actual volume based on capacity, right? So I think we should even put based on capacity. So actual volume based on capacity. So maybe put after seasonality. So just make sure you either are self-explanatory, so that nobody will be calling you to come and be explaining why this, why that, why that. It's very, very important, right? And this kind of mirror, so which means this is what we are going to be using in our revenue calculation. So how did we determine the seasonality? As I said, that's where your own industry knowledge needs to come into play, all right, and kind of understand as I said, most time it can be difficult for you to get seasonality unless where you have access to the historical pattern of that kind of industry and see this is more like how their revenue kind of grow. But you look at what usually happen festive period, people tend to, for example, if you are bidding for a typical supermarket, then you definitely know that, say, supermarkets, festive period, their sales are always high. Then times where there's nothing, they kind of have like a parallel sales of it. And so the same thing also applies to every business. So capacity is just saying minimum of actual forecast based on seasonality and the production capacity. Yep. So this is more like how a typical business and how you also see that. So you also feel you are also building your receivables, your net working capital, which you're also going to deal with. And I think net working capital is also one of the reasons why most businesses always make sure they're building a building operational kind of model. And these are the kind of pattern that also comes. So they know that this period we are going to have more sales. You know what? Let's find a way to be able to collect more of our cash and just all those kind of interesting things. So yes, I know we are getting advanced, but it's just the reality of of the business. So let me delete this chart. In case you just want to create it, you can also try and create it so that you get the logic. All right. So don't let me delete it. Let me just cut it and bring it under this our notes. Can be useful. All right, so thank you everyone. I know it's getting interesting. You can see that we still have a long way to go. We've not even touched our funding section. We've not touched our some other part of the business, right? Operating expenses and costs. All right. So I can see that's one of the reasons we just I need you to be on top of your game so that we can move faster. So thank you everyone. I'm glad you're part of the session. So let's call it a session here today, and just give us like 10 minutes. So in case you have any question, clarification, you can just type that in the chat box before we call that a session. So I already promise I'm not sharing the recording, but I think one thing I can do is I can share this my own work file with you so that you can use that to update your own wherever you got lost during that. Even wait, don't let me close it, and I will just drop it in the chat box for us now. Yep. So let me stop the recording. And I will just drop the